Uh, Welcome back, my dear students. This is the second video in the communication, or second clip in the communications. And this is your teacher, Dr. Usama Kashwa. Uh, let's see what we are here for today to complete the issue or to complete our talking about the barriers. We'll talk today about the barriers of the effective communication. How are these barriers and why they looks like and how we can overcome these barriers? So what are they? The barriers will distort, like if I'm talking to you now on the cell phone and I'm saying hi, you said hi, then I said I cannot hear you properly because there is distortion around you, a physical distortion. Or if the both the sender and receiver are understanding each other not in the same path, or by other meaning, the receiver did not decode the message as the sender wanted to be. This is also another point. Also another point, use a non-proper way of communication. The way of communicating is not very nice. So here we have things which is barriers for the communication, like the noise as example, noise. And these noises also might affect about the receiving, the coding, encoding, and the decoding. So this is also. There are a number of potential barriers which may result in ineffective communication. What are those barriers? They are irritation, misunderstanding. So I didn't misunderstand you as a receiver. I didn't understand your message in the same way you want to send this message to me. I understood by other meaning. I didn't understand exactly the way you wanted, you intended to me to receive it. Mistakes in the communication and the conflict. We have also barriers to also technical noise, the noises around you. Like just imagine if I'm talking to you, and using the cell phone, by the way, is a type of communication, because if I'm talking to you, that means it's a type of communication. So if I'm using a cell phone that the voice is not clear, or you are using a cell phone that the voice is not clear, or there is a noise around you or around me as a sender, then in that case, there will be distortion. Physical noise also, this is one of the points which is very important, the physical noise. Lack of interest or hostile attitude. Poor listening skills. If someone, the one who's received is not, he talks more than he listens. And this is one of the problems of the attitudes and the behavior. Information overload. So I'm giving you too much information. If I'm giving you too much information, for example, during a meeting, a manager might try to give his audience a long list of facts, which they will get upset while he's talking, because they might get some information and the other information they won't be able to follow. Lack of understanding also. For example, if some had a poor grasp of language and use incorrect words, such as economically variable instead of viable. So variable instead of viable. Or the person used technical jargon or abbreviation which were not understood by the editor. If I tell you now, I'm ordered of the UOT, then you would say to yourself, what is this, the UOT? So you feel even shame to ask me or shy to ask me, what is the UOT? Then it will goes by. So these are the initials also, as a kind of lack of understanding, which is used probably commonly used, and this is a big mistake in communication. Psychological noise. For example, if a person at an interview said that he was very interested in job being described, but started to yawn and gaze like that way out of the window as the interview was speaking, as the interviewer was speaking. Okay. Also, perceptual bias. If a person uses selective hearing and tunes out in order to avoid an unpleasant message, or one of the, like if you, as example, you hate the guy, you don't like him, or you don't like, you are biased towards a specific people or a specific group, then you might understand and explain the reaction in a meaning which they didn't actually intended to, but because you have a bias against these people or towards these people, so you misunderstood. Poor timing. The poor timing also is one of the reasons for the as a barrier of communication. For example, telephoning at lunch time and Friday afternoon may make it difficult to become through. The person you need to contact is unavailable. So those are we have always those are things, and he's giving you examples here in this place about the barriers of communication. In this part or unit 2, we will talk about the basics of communicating. The basics of communicating. So, of course, it's the language first, comes the language. We use the effective, how to use the language effectively, influence factors, persuasive language. We'll talk about the nonverbal and self-presentations. We'll talk about effective reading. We'll talk about the verbal skills. We'll talk about the listening. We'll talk about effective note-taking. Those are the points which we will cover in this part of a lecture today. Of course, no two persons can like go in contradiction, that one of them say yes, the language is important, and the other say language is not important. Language all the way up is very, very important. Language all the way up is very, very important, because language is a mean of communication in any society. For that reason, it's important. Okay. So the language always has a purpose to communicate. Language has a purpose to communicate. This does not mean that it is always straightforward. Careful phrasing and information can change. So you have to be also very careful in using the phrases and the words. Also, you have to be appropriate in using foreign languages, tasks, and you have to use the language effectively. Okay. There are a number of ground rules. This is what we want to say now, and the most important part, or basic techniques which underpin any effective communication, oral, visual, or written. So this is the point which we want to get through. That keep the aim of the communication firmly in mind. This is the first point. Plan the communication, channel, location, time, person. Plan what you will use as a channel of communication, and the purpose of the communication also. Aim for brevity. Okay. Ensure ideas are clearly expressed. Keep to relevant points. Don't go away from the main topic to another branches. Keep on the same topic. Avoid unnecessary jargon or technical words or initials. Be clear for the people which you talk. Don't say GMEB to everyone. Then you'll say, what is the GMEB? Then you'll say, good morning, everybody. No need for this. Just be very clear. And don't use initials, or don't use short words. Prefer the simple to the complex. Be simple, easier, because when you talk in simple, people will easily get and understand what you want to say. Check that the communication is logically structured. Know what you are communicating about. Use appropriate tone and style, the tone of your talk, the style of your talk, the tone, how your voice goes ups and downs, and how you stress on the very important points and so on. Use appropriate language that's understood by all the parties. Be positive. Review and assess for errors. Don't allow your language to become boring. Okay, don't patronize. Don't waffle. Respect the views and the opinions of the recipients. Be able to respond to feedback. Plan and evaluate the communication always. There are some factors that affect how you will use the language. How you will use the language. But first of all, let me go here and take this as a question. Take this as a question. How to use the language, or the factors affect the language. Or here, let us say here, how can we use language effectively in communication? How can we use language effectively in communication? How can we use language effectively in communication? Okay, how can we use language effectively in communication? And those are the points which we talked about just now, how to use the language effectively. Those are the points which we said right now about it, how to use it effectively. Now, what are the factors that will affect the use of the language? We talk about those are how to use it effectively, but what are the factors affect positively or negatively about using the language itself? What are those factors which affect about using the language? The age, the culture, the gender, the race, the religion, the status, the context, the education, the technical knowledge, the organizational cultures, and the previous meetings or experience. Those all are things which is very important for you to use the language effectively, or those are the factors affect the use of language or language communication. Factors affect the language communication, or those factors. So those were some examples about the use of the language, how to get use or how to use the language effectively in communicating, and those were some guidelines. Now we'll go to non-verbal communication and self-presentation. We'll go here to this point now. In non-verbal communication, we will move forward for some points, but just in the start itself, I want you to know there are three kinds of people: the person we are, the person we think we would like to be, and the person that other people perceive. So it's me as I think what I am, and it's me like how the people will see me. Those are the three things. The perception of a person might affect the job title, the status, the gender, all this derived from it, age, background, use of language, appearance, accent, attitude, gestures as well. All this, okay. The others choose to respond to the nonverbal signals that we send will be a combination of the prejudice and perceptions and attitudes, how we choose to present ourselves, our understanding of the communication process. So those are things which will affect about how you will use nonverbal communication. What is the meaning of stereotype? Stereotype means I saw a person, he was a thief. He stole my purse. So I might say, in my opinion, that this guy, all his community like him. I just generalized all the bad characteristics of this person in his whole community. So if someone else from his community came to me, I will be very cautious and very afraid about my purse, that he might steal it as one of his community stole it. I will think that all have the same characteristics. And this is, of course, a mistake because everyone is different than the other based on his own characters, values, attitudes, and so on. Stories may be damning, and unrepresentative, but are useful hook on which to hang our impressions. These stereotypes may be influenced by media presentation of types of individuals or groups. Sometimes the media will create this, like the Islamophobia as example, and like other things that the media might segregate and make it a very horrible, or based on our experiences on relationships and so on. Hence, doctors or teachers will be perceived as reflections of, okay? These are the stereotypes. So stereotypes. Second thing is our self-image. Our self-image is influenced greatly by way we think others see us. So this is also effect on the communication. How do I see myself? You can see here. Then how do others see me? The same thing. So I will compare between them, the same roots or the same, and I will compare between them. However, the nonverbal factors also. Those factors affect the communication process, like the body language, the facial, from the face, facial expressions, eye contact, postures and stance, physical contact, gestures, and the gestures. Okay. We have also the appearance, like the style of your own appearance. You look classic, you look so on. Appropriate of clothing to situation. Are you going to an interview in dressing code, or how it looks? Attention to appearance. Reading skills, ability to understand text information, being able to read the gap. So the body language include the facial expressions, which everybody has it. Like if I look at your face, I will know that you are angry, you are happy, that you are upset, you are frustrated. Like here as example, this looks like surprise, this looks like sad, this looks like fear, this looks like very angry, this looks like very happy. The postures and stance, also how you move, like in business situation, you will be probably stand or sit, enter or leave room. How do you do will form? How do you do so? Will form an immediate impression. So the way you're doing this will give an impression if you are going very fast and looking like nervous or whatever. Arms crossed, and all looks like it's silly to be arm crossed. gives the impression and attitudes and that you are not physically comfortable. Leaning forward on desk, this can indicate attentiveness, show that you are very attentive. Perching on edge of seat is usually perceived as nervous. Fiddling with pens, paper, etc. This indicates either bedroom or nervous. Boredom or nervous. You feel boring, yeah, like when you just play in the pen or just try to flip in the papers, it shows that you are boring. Arms folded tightly across chest. This is a classic defensive position. You might be don't like what's going on, a kind of objection, or you don't know what to do. Reclining in seats. Very relaxed. So when you go down in the seat like this, that you're relaxing. Biting the nails or scratching. Not only does it indicate nervousness, but boredom also. So you feel boring. Like when you are biting your nails, that means that you are not interested in the way others are talking to you. We'll move also now from the nonverbal into the physical contact. The physical contact is much more than a firm handshake, or even a firm handshake accompanied by looking directly into the eyes of the person. It shows kind of interest, and it shows kind that you care when you do eye contact with the other person or the other party. It shows that you care about what's going on with the other party. Okay. Gestures, and the gestures also has a share here. The appearance also, your personal style, your appropriateness, your attention to appearance, all this affects about you. Shall stop here for the moment and go to the next video. Till that, thank you so much. See you soon. Thank you.